Good morning, everyone, and welcome to A Moment of Hope with Upward Transitions. I'm Carla Stinnett, and today we're really excited to have a special guest with us from TEAM, which is one of the nonprofit organizations here in our Oklahoma City community that helps with the vulnerable citizens that have been impacted by the criminal justice system. So I'm going to bring on our special guest, who is Lindy Gleason. She is our site supervisor at TEAM, and we welcome you to our broadcast today, Lindy, and we thank you for being here.
Thank you, Carla. I'm so appreciative to be here.
Great. Well, let's just dive in and talk about how TEAM began and how it serves its clients and what the mission is of TEAM.
Sure. So TEAM has actually been in place since 1987. Serving Oklahomans through, education and job training, and served a spectrum of adults here in the Oklahoma City area. But what we were seeing at that time was that a lot of those individuals coming in to receive our services were people that had felony convictions in their background. And so in 2013, the board made a decision to focus and work specifically with that population of individuals who are impacted by the criminal legal system. And so since then, we've been able to adapt 4 different programs that try and catch people at different levels of the system. And so, for example, I am the supervisor of our reentry program. Our reentry program is tailored towards individuals that are either still currently incarcerated or have recently gotten out within that last year. And so we work with people who are essentially starting from scratch. But we also have our programs that deal with those that are in Oklahoma County and are unable to bond themselves out. And so we can work with them if the judge will agree to it and assist them as they go throughout their court proceedings. We have a diversion program that someone can be sentenced to instead of being incarcerated. They could do a couple of years of probation with us, and they're going to work to fulfill all the court requirements, but also make sure that they're getting to that place that individual wants to be. And then we recently started a veterans initiative, which is going to work with really anyone at any level that has had some sort of criminal legal involvement that's a veteran. And so really TEAM's mission in general is just to be able to help people break cycles of incarceration. And we do that through education, personal development, and work readiness.
And what an important mission that is in our community. And I just was curious, is Oklahoma still one of the states that has the highest incarceration rate in the nation?
Carla, unfortunately, yes. We have been for many years one of the highest incarcerators of both men and women and of people of color. There was a small window of time that we kind of jumped from 1 to 2, but for female incarceration, we're back at number 1, and have really sat at that top spot or top 2 spots for decades.
Wow, that's so sad, in that I'm glad that we have organizations like yours that help with these citizens that are coming out of incarceration or encountering the judicial system in a way that's impacting them and their family. And we appreciate what you're doing in the community. So in the last, 18 months, of course, we've had the COVID-19 and it's definitely had to change the process in the way we serve our clients here at Upward Transitions. How did that impact the way that you serve the clients that you are helping?
Man, COVID. So for us, specifically my program, the biggest participants that we were serving were people that were still incarcerated. And so we have partnerships with DOC for the facilities that are located here in Oklahoma City. And we would be working in those facilities and bringing individuals to our office and doing their services with them pre-release and making those relationships that we would continue post-release. But there was a period of time where it just wasn't safe for us to do things that way. And so while we've always had sort of what we call our walk-in tract, it was probably not as broad as it is now. Because what as anyone that's been going through this pandemic knows, things don't look the same that they do, and accessing resources has changed and has gone digital, or there's not as many opportunities just to go to the resource itself, walk in and try and obtain it that way. So we saw a lot of individuals just coming, needing help, being able to get on the internet or use a phone or just know how to go about obtaining these. So what we did is we really broadened what we do with individuals who have just recently gotten out within the last year, to do more of the services like we were doing for those that were still in. And so we've seen a huge jump in the number of people coming out of incarceration, coming to our doors, but still being able to do kind of what we always have done with the facility. So we're very thankful we were able to resume that at about October of last year. But it changed in that our groups are smaller and we're not mixing the populations as much as maybe we had prior to COVID.
Mm-hmm. So what are the biggest needs that you see in the clients that you serve? Like, I mean, is it lack of education? Is it self-development? Is it what is the biggest need you think in those clients?
I think what you mentioned, the word that popped to my head was opportunity. All those things I think are opportunities, and I think that's what a lot of the individuals we're working with needs. So imagine you've been away from everything you know and everyone you love for an extended period of time, and now you're expected to pick back up and start paying fines and fees and contributing back into the society, and potentially you're raising children, and our participants are needing employment opportunities. They're needing identification to be able to get those employment opportunities. They're needing assistance with just being able to show that they can be successful. So I think one of the great things about being able to work with Upward Transitions is you've helped kind of fill one of those gaps in just being able to obtain the IDs needed to start that process of rebuilding your life, getting to work, getting stable housing, being a part of our community in the way that they want to be a part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is one of the great attributes that we have in the nonprofit community in which we all work and live, is that we work really well together as far as collaborating, and we don't try to duplicate each other's wheelhouse per se. So Upward Transitions, we one of our services that we collaborate with your clients is that we do research the ID and identification, birth certificates, and all of that across the country for people who need ID, because that's one of the first barriers to being able to start your life. And even if you're homeless, get off the street, you got to have ID, and that's to get housing or a job or anything. So it's great. You refer clients to us, we help find their ID, and then they continue in the program that you have already established for them, and they work the program. And so it works really well together. And we even bring in other collaborators, in the community, mental health and medical and different ones. So, Oklahoma City's lucky in that we do work well together and collaborate well together. So, in looking at your clients, how prevalent is the cycle of multi-generational poverty as a contributor to the needs or to their situations? Do you see that as a cycle for them?
I think it is. I think that's I think it's just prevalent in our state, these cycles. And Oklahoma has one of, if not the highest ACE scores. And so incarceration is a direct correlation of those ACE scores, because one of the questions is if you've had a parent incarcerated. And so we see lots of parents being incarcerated, which then can lead towards a child later on becoming incarcerated. And when you've been removed from your family, and then if the job opportunities are not there for you, or the job opportunities that are not as well paying or leading to a career opportunity, then you see, more poverty. We have also more grandparents raising grandchildren than anywhere because, again, incarceration rates are so high in our state. So you see the grandparents taking on the role of the parents because they're being incarcerated, and not able to contribute back to their family the way that we would expect them to. So it's, I think you said multi-generational poverty. I think that's part of just being incarcerated and having families that have been incarcerated, having that multi-generational poverty is just a aspect of our state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have seen through the research that, it's imperative that we dig in and help support and keep these families intact. Because once you remove a parent from the home, it traumatizes oftentimes families become homeless. They don't have enough food. Sometimes they're not enrolled in school. And so you have this cycle of poverty that begins. And once these children are exposed and traumatized by the circumstances that are a direct result of not having a parent in the home, it continues the cycle of homelessness, of substance abuse, all these challenges that we face right now. With those who are struggling to stay housed or having housing insecurity, they're a continuation of what happened when they were kids, when they're parents. So, as Oklahomans, we've got to, in order to stop that cycle, we've got to invest in these families,
right?
Keep these families, the kids housed, and have a sense of security for them, because we're seeing the results of what happens, and the research supports it. I mean, it shows that the best way to help your community is to keep your people housed and keep them in a home. So do you have a client story that, we all have those days that are most rewarding for us in the nonprofit community when we have a client, we celebrate their successes. And so is there a client that comes to mind that you'd like to share?
I would. One in particular. So she actually came to us as a walk-in, so not our more traditional structure of participant, but she came because she had been familiar with who we were and was looking to get some assistance. And one of the things that she was needing help with when she came to us was obviously employment, but she needed help obtaining her IDs to get employment. So she didn't have her state ID, her social security card, or birth certificate. She didn't have any of those. And so through working with you all, we were able to help her get her state ID and birth certificate, and then work with her to get her social security card, which when COVID took place, getting a social security card became even more challenging because of Oklahoma didn't have an option to do so online. So we were having to mail in IDs. So not only did we need her ID to help her get employment, but we needed to get the social security card. Thankfully, it all worked out and she was able to get all of her identification. And with getting those started, she got employed at Goodwill. And then we got her into Section 8, and she got her very own apartment this summer through a wonderful donation that came through just unexpectedly. We had furniture that we were able to help furnish her home, and she just gave birth a couple months ago. And so that, when she first came to us, was, I believe, January of 2020. And so just to think, in almost 2 years, how she's been able to just rebuild her life, and not only rebuild her life, but she's working, she's a mother, she's able to take care of her children in her own place. It's been one of the highlights of my year.
Yeah, and that's huge too. What an accomplishment to be able to do that. And we see that happen too, and that makes, our work rewarding for sure, to be able to see and celebrate these successes with our clients. So our time's almost up, but I was going to just check with you and ask you anything new happening at TEAM in 2022 as we're about to ring in the new year.
Yes. Well, so we are going to continue doing the work that we are doing and hope to to just expand and broaden the services that we're already being able to do, and to expand in the numbers that we're able to do it. But certainly, I'd love to say that there may be some other expansion opportunities, but I will just at least leave it at that. We are grateful for what we're able to do right now, and hoping to serve more people in our state with the services that we already have in place. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, once again, Lindy, we are so happy that you were available to join us today and to share some information about TEAM and how you serve your clients in Oklahoma. Now, do you serve Oklahoma or Oklahoma County, or what's your?
Sure. So my program is Oklahoma because we work with those that are incarcerated in the state facilities. So although we work mostly in the Oklahoma County prisons, the ones that we're actually going into, anyone from anywhere in the state, if they needed some assistance, we would try our very best to kind of help navigate that. But our other programs, with the exception of the veterans programs, are specific to Oklahoma County.
Okay. And Upward Transitions is the same in that we serve Oklahoma County. So, well, once again, thank you. I guess we can tell everybody so long. See you later. We're so glad that everyone tuned in today, and we look forward to seeing you next week. And Happy New Year, everybody. And just thank you to all of our donors and supporters who help us with our programs. And Happy New Year. And we look forward to ringing in the new year with more success stories of helping those who are the most vulnerable in our community. Thanks again, Lindy.
Thank you, Carla. Bye-bye.